All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. This is Ethan Lassiter from DPD's West Region Planning Team for part two, the second day of the Austin Best Southwest RFP community presentations. We had three last night. We have four different development teams presenting tonight, so we will keep these opening remarks short. But with that, I'll actually pass it off to Commissioner Cox of the department.
So good evening, everyone, and welcome back. It's great to be here for the second of two meetings to share the responses to the city's RFP for the Laramie Bank building and the adjacent properties. Thanks again for everyone tuning in. As you know, this former bank site is a designated city landmark. That's actually one of the iconic buildings in Austin, and it's been at this intersection for more than 90 years. So today it is witness to Mayor Lightfoot's commitment to neighborhood revitalization on the south side and the west side through the Invest Southwest initiative. So in conjunction with our Alderman Mitz and you, the Austin community, we are looking to start the revitalization by restoring this intersection of Chicago and Laramie to really its rightful role as a kind of shopping destination, mixed use and pedestrian oriented destination. So the front door to Soul City. Yeah, it starts at this former bank site. So you are going to have a chance to see the developers' responses to the vision that was set out in the RFP. And this is a really exciting way of engaging the community. I think it has very little precedent, actually. The extent in which we want the community to drive the results. And so I'm really excited by the four proposals that you're going to see. Understand that you are a part, an integral part of this process, and we are really looking forward to your comments both during and after this meeting. And so with that, I just want to thank you for your participation. And I look forward to meeting the development teams along with you. Turn it back over to you, Ethan.
Thank you. With that, everyone, I'll run through this agenda and opening remarks pretty fast because they are what you saw 24 hours ago. As I stated, we have four teams presenting, ideally between 6:10 and 8:10, so we'll get moving. As a reminder for the RFP process, we have three main goals: to meet the teams, to learn about the proposals, and to ask questions and get feedback on each of the four proposals tonight. This process will be led through our meeting facilitator, to be introduced again very shortly. And then briefly, as mentioned again yesterday, this is part of a larger RFP and engagement process started in the summer with a visioning session and the Invest Southwest roundtables. These responses were then developed by different teams, submitted to the city, and we are now in this evaluation section, phase 3 in the yellow box, noting that this is the end of one part, but certainly the beginning of another section of engagement as we kind of combine feedback, select a developer, and then continue engagement and negotiation going forward. Again, noting the RFP had a vision created for it based on the roundtables, previous plans, and the visioning session that the development teams were then responding to. Noting again, from top to bottom will be the order presenting tonight. We have four teams. And then finally, what to keep in mind for the Q&A, for the chat, and for kind of any just feedback you want to give. Your overall impression, what excites you or concerns you, and then how does it respond to community wealth building as a priority within the RFP for the city and for the community, and then its competence and appropriateness in design in the professional standards that it's upholding. And again, feedback will be synthesized. Everything said here will be recorded. We will release an online survey. I hope you all got a email not that long ago from about yesterday's presentation for an online survey. All of that will be combined into a feedback document that we will then release back out, saying how we believe these have all been evaluated collectively by the community, by the city, and by financial feasibility into a tiered list of finalists. From that, we will present at the February Austin Roundtable on February 19th, select a winner, and move forward with continued engagement and negotiations. Given that, we'll move pretty quickly into the developer team presentations. First, noting that we are again joined by Claudette Baker. Claudette, if you want to introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back for part 2 for the community presentations of the developers for the Laramie Bank. I'm Claudette Baker, as stated. I work in this area. I'm a consultant to foundations and nonprofits. I do facilitation for groups, help groups move through their process. And I've worked in the for-profit, the nonprofit, and the government sector. Glad to see you back again tonight, and welcome to those who are viewing only. Next. So just a reminder of our community agreements is to please remain muted unless you are speaking. And again, I want to emphasize if you will state your name when you're speaking so we can easily locate you. Use the Q&A function for any questions outside of the designated developer area. Last night you did a great job of managing Q&A and using your questions where we started the conversation with the developers. If you're responding verbally, please raise your hand. There is a function to raise your hand, or you can raise your hand. We'll find you or send a chat if we don't see your hand raised. We do ask that you continue to respect the stack. That is the order in which we will call you based on how we see it popping up, and to certainly step up and step back. We want to include everyone. All your questions and ideas are valid, and as always, treat each other with respect. So with that, as indicated on the agenda, is we have 30 minutes total for each developer. So that means an 8-minute presentation, about 22 minutes for a Q&A. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. And so part of my role as the facilitator is not only to keep you time on task, but also to try to summarize what the high points are at the end. So with that, let us get started with the Heartland Housing and Oak Park Regional Housing proposal.
My name is Athena Williams, and I've been a resident of the Austin community for over 20 years. I am also the Executive Director of the Oak Park Regional Housing Center.
I'm Tamika. I've lived and worked in the Austin community for over 40 years. I'm an aspiring business owner in the process of opening a new cafe called Mocha 24.
We have a highly experienced team that is envisioning a design that celebrates Austin through art and architecture. The Laramie State Bank building will be owned by a nonprofit. However, it will be managed by a community board of directors with the aim of reinvesting the profits back into our community.
We're building a place in Austin for Austin.
And I'm proud to introduce our team, the Austin United Alliance. Oak Park Regional Housing Center has been working in Austin for more than 15 years. This is an opportunity for us to bring affordable mixed income housing into the community through this site.
Heartland Housing has been invested in the Austin's neighborhood for nearly 25 years. Our May Suites building, located on Mayfield Avenue, has housed Austin residents since 1997. Our sister agencies at Heartland Alliance have also been invested in the Austin community for years. Most recently, Heartland Human Care Services purchased a building on Leamington in order to support Westside residents. When we looked at this site, we, along with our partners, saw an incredible opportunity to continue this work in Austin.
It all began by asking what the neighborhood needed. We surveyed the many new initiatives along the Chicago Avenue corridor. A new grocery store will soon open on Chicago. This, along with the significant parking demand of such a use, turned our attention to the lack of financial services that could improve the quality of life in the neighborhood. The site included the Laramie State Bank, which has been on the list of Chicago's most endangered historic buildings for years. You have a bank, make it a bank again. But the challenge was how to increase density on the site while not diminishing the historic bank. We tested a number of options that placed a mass of a tall building along Chicago, but it made the bank feel small and leaves little open space along the street. Our proposed solution takes full advantage of the bright southern light and creates a large plaza for the community.
We see a new future for the historic Laramie State Bank building, which would be fully restored to include a new bank branch, a cafe, a blues museum that offers historic information about the community, a business incubator for local entrepreneurs. Oak Park Regional Housing Center will be the owner of the bank building, but we will create a board of directors that will be made up of Austin community members, which will manage and operate the building. This board of directors will recruit and select tenants for the bank building, as well as oversee the property management and the reinvestment profits that go back into the community.
We thought it was important for the community to operate and benefit from the bank building, which is why we've created a legal structure which will allow the residential building and bank building to be owned by separate entities. With a 76-unit mixed income residential building, we expect to add significant density that will activate the site and bring additional vibrancy to the neighborhood.
As we thought about what this mixed-use development might look like, we explored many scales and massing options. The restored Laramie Bank is a gem from the 1920s. It deserves to shine once again. In the distance at the opposing corner of Latrobe, we said, let's imagine a 2020s building identical in height and mass with the historic bank.
The two volumes surround a large garden, which will be open to the community and take advantage of the bright south-facing sun. This is a garden of soul, a meeting place for music, art, food, and inspiration available to everyone. The windows in the housing are surrounded by a Pan-African color scheme from the Soul City corridor. We envision the wall of the bank decorated with a gorgeous mural by a local artist. And along the street, we see movable gates filled with colorful art welcoming everyone into the courtyard.
With the community room and the bank located on either side, this will be a bright and vibrant space for the community.
At Boyle Construction, we are an African-American-owned general contractor with extensive experience in building community-based projects around workforce inclusion. Our philosophy is to create opportunities for local minority and women-owned construction companies and non-construction businesses to participate in the development and construction of projects within their community. Through outreach sessions, we intend to engage the community of Austin in creating opportunity for inclusion in the construction of this exciting project at Laramie State Bank.
Heartland Housing has been developing affordable housing in Chicago for over 30 years. During that time, we have built, renovated, and continue to manage 16 apartment buildings. We always proactively work with and listen to the communities that we are building in to make sure that we are responding to the needs of the community.
U53 in Hyde Park, we engaged in many meetings with the local community and heard their concerns. When one resident told us that he couldn't buy a pair of socks in his neighborhood, we changed the program on the ground floor and added a space large enough to accommodate an urban Target store to serve the 53rd Street corridor. This change really responded to a community need for retailing, which had not been answered in years.
When we worked on Boombox, we created a retail pop-up space which was used all over the city. One of our first retailers in this space opened up a cheesecake shop now just down the street from this site. Another has found success through this model and is now opening a grocery store on Chicago Avenue. This project showed us there's a demand for certain types of retail spaces, and has provided a pipeline for business support systems that we now know can work. This project influenced our program for the Laramie State Bank, and we see great value in providing supportive services to local entrepreneurs. We have put a lot of thought into the design of this site and how it could positively impact the community of Austin, but this is only the first step. Our design process is a collaborative partnership, and we expect the community to be an active part of it. Together, we are shaping a future in Austin and for Austin.
I couldn't be more excited about this project. By restoring the Laramie State Bank, we are helping businesses like mine thrive. Our neighborhood will be buzzing with programs and projects that will revitalize our community.
And this bank building is for all of Austin. We will have the small incubator to bring new businesses in. We'll have banking partners to help with lending options. This is an exciting time and an exciting project. We look forward to your cafe, the Chicago Blues Museum. Let's do it.
Let's do it for us, by us.
Thank you, Austin United Alliance. We can begin with our questions. We have a few questions that have come in. Why a blues museum? Why are you proposing a blues museum?
Hello, everyone. This is Athena Williams, Executive Director of Oak Park Regional Housing Center, and I'll just start by saying thank you to everyone. So the reason for the Chicago Blues Museum is because it's not so much that it's just a blues museum, but it's actually an arts and cultural organization that focuses on documentation, preservation, and education that they provide back to communities. So work that they've done in the past includes exhibits in Bronzeville and in other parts of the South Side of Chicago, and they showed a vested interest in wanting to come into the Austin community to provide some of that education about Austin in the form of music. And believe me, they don't just do it through blues music, and they don't just talk about blues exhibits. They have an array of different music genre and an array of different cultural arts that they provide.
So you propose that it's a nonprofit. If a nonprofit owns the building, does that mean that you will not be paying taxes to help support and increase the tax base in the community, which
No.
the community needs?
No, that does not mean that. For a nonprofit, in order to not pay property taxes, they have to go through an extensive process. But because we know that that's one of the ways or one of the mechanisms to build wealth for the community, taxes will be paid on the property.
Okay. How will you return the investment to your capital investors? How is that economically feasible?
Yeah, hello, this is Charlie Johnson with Heartland Housing, and I can take that. So we don't actually have capital investors in this project. That's part of, we're a nonprofit organization, as an Oak Park Regional Housing Center is also a nonprofit. And so there is some equity that's being put into the deal, but that's through fundraising. But otherwise, the other equity is through the low-income housing tax credits.
Okay. Are there, there's a response being typed at this time to the question about what LOIs do you have? So that response will be in your Q&A. Are there other questions that you have for the Austin United Alliance?
Ms. Baker, did you want me to respond about the LOIs?
It's in the chat. Does everybody see the written response? But
so you could expand on it, Athena, please.
Okay, thanks, Catherine. So we have letters of intent from, of course, the Chicago Blues Museum. We have letters of intent from BMO Harris Bank as well as Fifth Third Bank. We also have letters of intent from our cafe owner, Mocha 24, Ms. Tamika Christian. We also have letters of intent from Kaya Art Creative, which is an artist from Austin who intends to work with the community, with the youth in the community around arts and art education, particularly as it pertains to art development for this project.
How are you funding the project and what's your total development cost? What's the source and uses?
Yeah, again, this is Charlie with Heartland. So we fund the project through a variety, I mean, with all affordable housing and mixed income housing, there's usually a large capital stack or a large group of different funding sources. And so it may have been a little confusing to say there are no investors. There actually will be investors. There are investors who purchase the tax credits from us.
Right.
So we intend to have low-income housing tax credits, federal and state historic tax credits. We'll have new market tax credits. All of those tax credits, so all of that together is approximately $17.5 million. And so we will have tax credits that purchase, or investors that purchase those. Say it again, I'm sorry, I thought I heard someone speaking.
You can. It was background noise. You can keep going.
Okay.
And then
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Charlie. I was going to say, in addition to the typical financiers, we will also be doing a major capital campaign around fundraising.
Yeah, to help support the bank building, the work in the bank building. And there'll be a first mortgage on this as well, and then some smaller grants. We always go out there. You know, there's a ComEd sustainability. ComEd Affordable Housing Sustainability Grant, and a few other smaller grants that we'll get to help fill the final gap.
How would you tailor your moving in the area to welcome all ethnicities? There's a note that there's a rise in Hispanic population moving into the area.
So when it comes to that's part of community outreach. We would have to have a very wholesome community outreach initiative for this project to include everyone in the community. And part of that includes, one of the things that we intend to do is to do a massive mailing. So upon selection for this project, we would do a massive mailing to make sure that everyone is included and everyone is aware of the project. We will also do a short-term immediate door knocking, door hanging project within, I believe it's like a 3-mile radius around the building, 3 to 8 mile radius around the building. So we will have to do that and set up various committees to make sure there's a lot of inclusion for this project.
Okay. It's noted that this project is expensive. Do you have an LOI from a grant provider lined up?
No, for the grant providers, we do not. We do have a letter of support from a tax credit investor. So that's really the largest piece.
Okay. What's your total project cost?
Total project cost is $37.5 million.
Okay. There is a question in the chat that I think a member of your team is responding to. I don't see the response yet, but wanting to know the sources and uses of your project.
Charlie, if you want to answer that one, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just answered the sources. I can run through it again if we like. We can also, if there's going to be a written response to this, that might be a little easier to put together in a response, especially the uses. But you know, with the $37 million, it's tax credits, it's some grants. There's a $4.4 million first grant. There's $2 million in fundraising. About $1 million from the Federal Home Loan Bank. But again, like, that's a lot to just say verbally. I'm happy to respond to that.
And I could put it in the chat too. We do have some more detailed information about funding sources, so I will drop it in the chat for that question answer as well for people to see.
How long do you expect it to take to raise funds, and will it affect your timeline for execution?
Athena, do you want to talk about the fundraising piece? How long?
Right. So Oak Park Regional Housing Center, we actually have what we call the Westside Bankers Council that we meet with quarterly. And we meet with 15 different financial institutions who are well aware of this project, and they're really just waiting to find out what the outcomes are going to be. They're all on alert that we're looking for a mix of grants as well as investments for this project. And so we're looking at, as soon as it gets off the ground, within the timeline of the first year, to have all the funds developed.
Yeah, and in reality, it takes about a year to do the full design, to go to the city council. I mean, this and I think every other project that I've seen would require going to city council for zoning and to put the financing together and to close on the financing. So we would likely be under construction within a year.
How many jobs will the project create for the community?
I could answer that one. I answered it in the chat, but roughly we have about 150 temporary construction jobs. And if Lee's available from BOA Construction, he could answer that further. But then it will lead into about 127 permanent jobs across housing, bank, cafe, museum, incubator, and then secondary services like landscaping and security. Lee, if you're available to talk a little bit more about the construction jobs.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Yes, that is correct. We are anticipating about anywhere between 125, 150 construction jobs created through the various disciplines. Our strategy is to develop a very robust outreach program within the community. We have experience in doing so. The goal there is to identify local businesses and try to match them up, pair them up, if you will, with other prime contractors, as well as continue to exceed the MBE and WBE goals, which are at 26 and 6%.
Let me call on Alderman Mitz. I see your hand.
Thank you and good evening to everyone.
Good evening, Alderman.
Thank all of you for being here on this historic day where we just turned the page. And we are making history as well, turning the page on the Laramie State Bank, looking to enhance our community. I've asked this question and I would like to see if you can answer me in terms of parking spaces for residents, and if there have been any study done for traffic once the facility opened, is that area is very narrow. So if someone can answer that for me.
Yeah, let me take that one. Parking, as anyone who's been involved with any sort of development, is always tricky. We do have 31 spots at this location. As the RFP mentions, this is a TOD site, and that was important to the city and it's important to us. We've been involved in another TOD site, and in general, we think that we have enough parking for space. Having said that, we have not commissioned a traffic study. And Alderman, Alderman Mitz, we've not worked with your office on this yet, but we intend to work with the city on it in the zoning process, and with the community, quite frankly. We know that it's a hot button issue. It is on every development, and we're committed to working with you, the city and the community, to make sure that the parking solution that we ultimately land on works for the community.
And just in terms of a sequence of development, a traffic study would be one of those items that the selected team would commission. So at this point, while we hear your comments across all the projects around parking and congestion at that intersection, the full study would happen with the selected team.
Thank you very much. I am very aware of the group and the Heartland Alliance, Oak Park Regional Housing Council with Athena, having worked with Board Construction, who's on a Joint Public Safety Academy now, making sure we include our partners from the community. I am excited about all the projects that are coming. The proposal is great, and we're looking to see at the end of the day who's going to be the successor here. So I'll be looking forward to hearing more from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman.
How do you plan to utilize the second and third floors of the bank building?
So that's where the business incubator would be held, and part of that business incubator would have a pop-up shop for business entrepreneurs in the community.
And I believe this question may be number of permanent jobs.
Again, we were looking at about 127, and that answer is detailed. If you go to Q&A under the answers tab, it's detailed in full.
Representative, I see your hand. I'll come to you in a second. Would the Blues Museum be free and open to the public, or is there a cost attached?
So the Blues Museum would, the way it's set up, as you saw in the video, it's an open space, and part of the exhibit would be throughout the bank building, and yes, it will be open and free to the public.
Okay. And based on the need to outreach to the community, how will you get the community buy-in to support the project and for the community to see it as its own, not just another housing alliance development?
Yes, so as mentioned earlier, we would do a newsletter to the entire Austin community, all 3 zip codes. In addition, we would also we would have a campaign around getting the community involved to actually name this project, because the housing development should have a name, and the building, even though it's a historic landmark, might want to have a name added to it as well. So we would get the community involved through a name, you know, a naming campaign, so that the community can have ownership of this project as well.
Representative Lilly, you can ask your question now.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. You addressed a little bit of it, Athena, and I too, as Alderman mentioned, all of these are exciting plans for our community. So thank you all for putting your energies and creativity to our community. My question with the proposed use and the variety of it, who owns this project, and how do you create the community ownership of this project?
So it's a joint venture with Heartland Alliance and Oak Park Regional Housing Center. Heartland Alliance will own the housing portion, and Oak Park Regional Housing Center will own the bank building. Through the ownership of the bank building, Oak Park Regional Housing Center would develop a community-led board of directors, meaning that that board of directors would consist of 2 business owners from the community to have business representation, 2 partners from the quality of life plan to have representation for the full quality of life plan, in addition to 2 residents that are in the area, so that as well as 1 seat for the owner of the building, so that that group would then manage and operate all of the activities that are taking place in that building. And part of the wealth going back to the community, in addition to other things, would be at the end of the year, we would assess, after all the operational costs, the net amount of funding that's available. And through that community-led board, we will make a determination amongst, with that group, to figure out how can we put that money back into the community. And that's just a plan. Now, if there's a better suggestion, we're open to it. But in leading this and Rep Lily, Alderman Mitch, I'm very much into making sure the community gets this part. I wanted to make sure there was a way that it didn't just focus on one group, that we all came together to make this work, because this needs to be an economic driver for the community. Two, this project is the major stakeholder for the development on Chicago Avenue. And we have to be an example. Once this happens, it's going to be a rollover into more housing development, more business development on Chicago Avenue. And this is just the start.
Exactly, to that point, what we looked at in terms of the businesses that we partner with and the program that we put in the spaces, we were looking 2 or 3 years down the line. So we looked at the quality of life plan, and we looked at various other initiatives that are happening in the neighborhood and along the corridor, and thought, well, with increased SPIF funding, with continued NOF funds, we want to see and support the growing businesses that will be happening on the corridor, because the building itself will be a catalyst, and it is a gateway to the West Side and to Austin, but it can't be everything to everyone. So we want to be able to think about what programming will support the businesses that are already in the pipeline happening in Austin, and not try and recreate them. And then also think about what businesses will then need, what business support will be needed, thinking that we have a whole entire, several years of growth that will start to be happening.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that response. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about that piece. I think it's going to really be exciting when you get the community involved with this type of project. So thank you for allowing me to ask the question. Thank you.
We have time for one last question, and I'm going to recognize Darnell Shields, who doesn't have the hand raise function, but it's in a chat.
Yeah, this is day 2 of no hand raise function. I just want to point that out. But I just want to say thank you again to Athena and the rest of the team for, I echo Rep Lily's comments as well about the energy that you all have put forth for this and bringing it to the community. I really appreciate it. And to that end, I just wanted to ask if you could elaborate just a little bit more around how you all specifically plan to make sure that this development, this concept that you put forth, that you can confirm it with in alignment with the existing plans that the community has already sourced into in terms of the quality of life plan, as well as the Soul City corridor plan, because there was a lot of framework that were put into these plans that advises around development such as this, and elements that the community was very adamant about making sure that would be in place. And so I just wanted to provide more of an opportunity for you guys to speak to that a little bit more beyond what we saw in the video and so forth.
Okay, so I'll start with the how we're going to address the quality of life plan. So I'm going to start with the community narrative. With the community narrative, we'll be investing in local arts and cultural spaces, meaning that we'll have an artist that is from the community that will be working with the community with existing programming and establishing new cultural experiences, particularly with the partnership with the Blues Museum. Also under the community narrative, we'll be working to increase the number of stories and authentic images portrayed in the Austin community, particularly when we get the community involved with naming of these, 2 different buildings. In addition to the background of the Chicago Blues Museum, who's looking to create a story about Austin and Austin's history around not just music, but around the 4 different communities that are, I should say 4 different neighborhoods that are part of this community. In addition to the community narrative, we're looking to create environments that foster health and wellness in the community with our partner Root Riot, who plans to come into the space as well on the 2nd or 3rd floor to also, as you know, Root Riot has gardens in the community. They focus on healthy eating, healthy lifestyles, and they're seeking to partner with our great partner, 40 Acres, Ms. Liz over there, to bring healthy food and healthy eating into the community. Then we're also looking at the economic development piece, where we're going to train and develop local workers and entrepreneurs. Miss Tamika Christian, I'm sorry, I should say Dr. Tamika Christian, who is the owner of the Mocha Cafe, she's looking to hire 16 to 24-year-olds and take them through training and workforce development through the cafe, as well as provide cultural enrichment programs for families in the evenings. In addition to that, we're looking to build a local economy and small businesses through the Small Business Hub Incubator. We're looking to do that through partnerships with groups such as Ed Coleman and the Westside Forward. I'm sorry about that echo. I'm going to jump to housing. So with the housing piece, we're looking to develop a variety of affordable housing. And I'm going to keep going on it.
Ms. Williams, I need you to wrap in 30 seconds, please.
Okay, well, public safety, but I'm gonna give it to Catherine so she can hit that last question that Darnell asked.
We have to address those additional questions outside of this. So as noted, is there pending questions around housing and around the movable gates? So we certainly appreciate your presentation and the conversation from the members of the community. It is now time for us to move to our next developer. So thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Heartland Alliance, thank you. And let's move now to Renshaw Development and Westside Health Authority.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Reed. I'm the founder of the Westside Health Authority. I started this organization because I was really concerned that the community didn't have a voice in shaping public policy or development in the neighborhood of Austin. What we want is a healthy community. Health, not just in terms of physical health, but health in terms of having resources and prosperity. Health in terms of feeling good about yourself and about where you live. Community means relationships between people. You have to have a relationship between people and what you're building in this community. Our 30 years of working with people, of hearing people, of building every block of village, of building the Good Neighbor campaign puts us in a better position to make this project work.
Our design concept, the Soul City Center, was inspired by the rich history of the Great Migration. Our design proposal meets the Invest Southwest principles of design excellence: equity, sustainability, innovation, sense of place, and communication. We propose to revive the elegant Art Deco landmark Laramie Bank structure as a new center of cultural activity. A welcome area will feature a Great Migration film and a permanent exhibit, along with an indoor-outdoor community-run soul cafe. The original deeply coffered ceiling will remain and be reinterpreted. A grand new stair will be a magnet and catalyst for community-based meetings and conversations. A glass bridge connection allows the complex to function as a single entity while clearly delineating old and new. Modern, contemporary residential units will have ample daylight. And there are 3 distinct green roofs, along with a roof canopy that will overlook the new central plaza. Hints of the rich yellow of the bank building are reflected in the new building. The residential areas will have their own entries and spacious lobbies. We studied local context to ensure that the L-shaped residential and retail building was appropriate in proportion, color, and texture, and it complements the Laramie Bank building. It will stand the test of time.
Moving to the exterior, there'll be a brand new public plaza serving as a public realm and green oasis for the community, a gathering space for events, arts, and entertainment. Exterior exhibit spaces and an outdoor cafe will create a seamless thematic connection to the Great Migration sculptural tribute, community play space, and interactive programming for young and old alike.
We are pleased to present our proposal for the Soul City, a redevelopment project for the Laramie State Bank. My name is Morris Reed, CEO of Westside Health Authority, and I have the pleasure of introducing our team for the Soul Center development, which includes the Westside Health Authority, Renshaw Development, Urban Works, and Planning Resources. The Westside Health Authority was formed by local churches, organizations, and residents on the premise that Westside residents and stakeholders are the authority in their community. Our mission is to improve the quality of life by capacity building and to create effective strategies and campaigns that improve access to resources for their overall well-being. Since the development of the Austin Wellness in 2004, WJ has leveraged its gain capacities to develop both commercial and affordable housing units for more than 10 years. In addition, WJ has worked with local businesses and property owners to create the first SSA in the Austin community.
Hi everyone, my name is Mike Roan and I am Vice President with Brinshore Development. Founded in 1994, Brinshore Development is one of the nation's largest and most experienced affordable housing developers. To date, Brinshore has developed 74 affordable and mixed income projects comprising over 5,500 units. To date, Brinshore has developed 25 affordable and mixed income projects on the south and west sides of the city. We are experienced with all funding mechanisms to make units affordable to families across the income spectrum, including low-income housing tax credits, TIF, historic tax credits, and unconventional debt. Brinshore's developer philosophy is rooted in the creation of community partnerships with a commitment to inclusiveness, diversity, tolerance, compassion, curiosity, and respect. Our process for partnering is based upon a shared commitment to community and transformation with heart.
Hello, I'm Patricia Saldana-Nadke, one of the firm owners of Urban Works. We're an MBWB firm and one of the pre-qualified architects for the Invest Southwest initiative. With over 27 years of experience and a passion for the positive transformation of cities and communities, we focus on design excellence.
Planning Resources is an African-American-owned full-service landscape architecture practice certified as a Chicago DBE. We embrace the challenge to create economically, socially, and environmentally impactful site solutions.
Team members are creatively designed to execute the requirements of the city and the community. Procreative Law has extensive experience with MBE, WBE, community development, low-income housing tax credits, and multi-tier financing projects. MacRossi Historic Advisors provide direction to maintain the historic design, and Lisa Management Incorporated is a specialist of affordable housing and community development. WJ projects have been highlighted by HUD and featured on PBS regarding its work to maximize the inclusion of African American contractors. Our efforts achieve over 50% inclusion and create millions for local African Americans.
At a high level, we are very proud of our concept and we believe that the project has the ability to transform the neighborhood. In short, the project will become a neighborhood anchor and an economic engine. It will be a hub of cultural activity for the neighborhood and a citywide tourist destination. It will result in the rebirth of the elegant Laramie State Bank.
The Soul City Project Impact Vision will restore the Laramie State Bank building. It will generate revenues for businesses. It will build on capacity and build on the momentum of Westside Health Authority to provide services and programs in a special service area. It also includes strengthening a sense of community, creating a new mixed-use development that will include 50 units of affordable market-rate housing, create a celebration of the Great Migration in Chicago's African-American culture, incorporating the design for excellence by incorporating the latest design technology, and improve neighborhood safety, and prioritize a pedestrian public realm, including the mixed uses in design.
We believe the project will cost $28 million. The financing will come from a variety of sources that we will compete for at the City of Chicago, including low-income housing tax credits, historic tax credits, TIF, and Illinois affordable housing tax credits. We will also fundraise to provide financing for the build-out of the Soul City Center Great Migration exhibit. For project uses, based upon Brinshore's experience in the City of Chicago, our development budget anticipates total costs of $28 million, of which $21 million will be hard construction costs. We anticipate it will take a year from design start through the city site review process to permit submission. During that time period, we will be structuring the financial aspects of the deal by submitting applications for tax credits, soft funding, and working with lenders and investors. We expect the construction commencement in the fall of 2022 and construction completion in late 2023. Full operations and occupancy would start in the spring of 2024.
Soul City Center Community Wealth Building is based on a plan set forth in the community to create a cultural district to retain African American dollars in Chicago and drive African American investment and employment. Our development team has a proven track record with inclusion and support for MBE, WBE contractors. Our team is made up of experienced professionals committed to goals of the RFP and the community's vision. We have experience in working with the city, community, business, and finances to achieve the goals we set forth. On behalf of our entire team, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this historic effort. All right.
enthusiasm, we'd ask that you would mute your line at this point, please.
Both of you, Ms. Baker, go ahead. But I just want to say before you start, Ms. Baker, just one second.
You're
I
just
want to say
your time if that's what you want to do. But go
I
right.
do say this. I just want to say that this is a story that's been making for the last 2 decades. Miss Reed told a part of her story, but I do want to recognize the story of AAA DNA to create the Soul City. I do want to recognize the story of Austin coming together to bring a quality of life plan. I do want to recognize the work of our alderman in the 37th Ward who's been working with groups to make sure that this building gets completed. This is a story that the Austin community must finish. And we're willing, we're ready, and we have the capacity to finish this story.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Reed, and for the residents that are present. Thank you. Who are the tenants? Do you have letters of intent?
So our tenants for commercial spaces is going to be based on our community engagement process. We're going to work with community members to figure out which retail tenants should we choose. It is presumptuous of us to bring a certain bank. But Wintrust and BMO Harris has reached out to us and expressed interest. We worked with CBRP. We have a long list of retail tenants looking to be in this building. But before we choose which tenants to be in this building, we want to address the community and say, which tenants do you prefer? In addition, we want to offer opportunities for our local entrepreneurs like Sweets Cafe, who was mentioned in the previous presentation, that we brought to the neighborhood and that we developed, and they rent for one of our developments right now. Is what we do, is what we create. This is a valuable piece of real estate, and we shouldn't just give it away and just offer it to whomever. We want the community to be involved in who we select to be in this building, and they will be a part of our community engagement process.
I will also add,
just to add to that.
Just a moment. Let me ask, please, that part of our community agreement is that we are being respectful and that we're staying time on task. And so I do have to ask that we really do appreciate your enthusiasm, but it takes away from the time that the community members have to be able to ask their questions and to give their feedback specifically to your proposal. So I would ask that you would just limit, some of your applause. We can feel it is palpable how excited you are about your project, and that's great. Okay, so I do need to keep us moving here. And there's a comment about creating opportunities for wealth instead of creating opportunities for institutional investments. Should you look at creating opportunities for families to invest in the future and to live in their communities? So how would you address the community wealth gap?
One of the things that we have done is to organize businesses in the neighborhood. And we have talked to people who own beauty shops. And we know that is a very lucrative business in our neighborhood. We have talked to people who own popcorn shops, popcorn. As Mr. Reed stated, we have a bakery that we recruited and brought into the neighborhood, Brown Sugar Bakery, that's operating out of one of our facilities. We brought the Cheesecake Factory. So we have a lot of experience in terms of going out recruiting businesses. And because we have a reputation with the community, businesses come and try to recruit space from us.
And Ms. Baker, I just want to point out, Jason right here and all these young men, we're working with this young guy right now to build his capacity and build his wealth to have a local construction company that can work and mentor young men to bring them off the streets and to have them a part of this wealth building generation. Jason, can you just wave your hand for us real quick?
And also we have a history of doing this. Just a real quick story. When county...
Ma'am, excuse me. Please, that the stories, again, we have to emphasize that your enthusiasm and your excitement for your project, we get it. It's just that our time will not allow, because we want the community members to have as much time. They have limited time to be able to ask questions specific to your proposal. And so the next question is, and I see hands from Alderman Mitz and Mr. Nagy. I will come to you all. What's the ownership structure and what's the percentage of the owners?
The ownership structure is that 51% of this ownership of the entire site will be owned by the community through Westside Health Authority. And after a 15-year period, we will own the entire site at 100%. And part of that ownership structure will be developed through community engagement process and figure out which community partners would like to continue in the management and operation of this facility.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Mitz?
Thank you so much, Claudia. I have to commend Westside Health Authority for all the work that they've done over the years in the community and working together, but I have to ask them the same question that I've asked the others in terms of parking with the number of units. How are we looking at the parking, and how, if there are going to be any traffic studies included in the proposal?
Mike, can you answer that?
Yeah, I can. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Rohn. I work with Brenshore Development, and I appreciate the opportunity to present to you tonight. Alderman Mitz, thank you very much for that question. We're happy to answer that. First of all, we're planning 50 units of mixed income housing with income ranges from 30% AMI all the way up to market rate. So we got 30%, 50%, 60%, 80%, and market rate units. So we have a variety of incomes that we plan to have live here. We plan on having 26 parking spaces at the back of the site. And while that isn't a parking space for each unit, we really tried to address the Soul City corridor plans and priorities by making the development a human scale and to emphasize the pedestrian in our proposal.
Okay. Mr. Nagy, you may ask your question now.
Thank you, Claudia. I just want to make a follow-up on that creation of wealth. I'm a strong believer that also home ownership, it's a way of creating intergenerational wealth. We have many of our families are moving to the suburbs because they cannot find housing units in our neighborhoods. Young couples, they just simply move and they cannot stay close to their parents. Is there any approach, any idea in any of the projects to look into an investment opportunity or offer an investment opportunity to families that want to stay in the neighborhood and build wealth and transfer that wealth to their children in the future and invest in the neighborhood?
Yes, absolutely. One of the projects that we employ is called 100 Men, 100 Homes. We've been doing this project for the last 5 years. It was actually featured on PBS, Chicago by the L, on a documentary. We are taking over 3,000 homes were left vacated through foreclosures and abandonment. We are developing houses all around this site to develop housing opportunities with equity to homeowners. We sell to teachers, we sell to workers, manufacturing workers, we sell to policemen, to CTA drivers. These are all people who we market to them and say, you know what, why rent when you can buy? Buy this equity now in your neighborhood rather than wait for when you're priced out and a different demographic come in. So we'll have the same approach to the renters. You can start off renting, but we want to pre-qualify you and to market to you and attract you to buy a home and stay in Austin.
Okay. Who are the minority firms you're using for this project?
It's just not minority firms. Several of all, we got Daryl Garrison, and he can introduce himself. He's the urban planning architect. Daryl, you want to introduce yourself?
Mr. Garrison, if you will unmute, please.
Sorry about that. How are we good? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes. All right. Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. I thank you for allowing me to introduce myself. My name is Daryl E. Garrison. I'm president and principal of Planning Resources. Planning Resources is a full-service landscape architecture and urban planning design firm here in metropolitan Chicago, and we've done quite a few projects, urban projects, as well as park and recreation projects in and around the Chicago metropolitan area.
And for WHA too, I just want to add for WHA, it's just not minority contractors, but it's contractors from the neighborhood. That's why we have Jason here, we have our Sky here. We have a long track record of building capacity with local minority contractors to take advantages of opportunities and tax dollars that are meant to present opportunities for them. It's one thing to just have minority contractors, but it's another one to give opportunities for local minorities who never had access to these types of opportunities before.
I want to recognize Ms. Liz Abinall to ask her question. Ms. Abinall.
Hey y'all, great presentation. Quick question about the Great Migration exhibit. Is that going to be, is that more of a art and cultural like design choice, or is that actually going to be like a museum type of feature in this space? And because of, if it is a museum, is it something that will be revenue generating?
The Great Migration will be a cultural space. It's not a museum because, of course, we do have to pay for it. It would be a space that people can come in because there will be a lot going on in that particular area. We'll have a cafe there. We'll have, other specialty shops, perhaps somebody selling African jewelry. We would have somebody perhaps selling coffee. So we have a lot of different activities and entrepreneurs right there in that space that can not only serve the population that's walking in there, but also generate tax revenues and help to keep the space paid for. In addition to that, we will have a panorama. So we will have, because a lot of the people in the neighborhood, some of the older people in this room here have said they wanted to be able to tell their story about when they got on the train coming from Mississippi to Chicago on a segregated platform and coming to Chicago and thinking this was the promised land and the problems they encountered. So their stories will be told, and we will be able to have this videotape and show it in a panorama, and they can invite their family, they can invite their church members in to have access to learning more about their history, how we have struggled, and have this history presented in a way, in an appealing place, in a way that feeds our soul in this neighborhood when so much other stuff is all around it that does not feed our soul.
Amen.
Could I also add something to that?
Sure.
Yeah, if I can add something to that, I'll be brief. I think it's important to note that in our proposal, we're not only focused on the interior of the building with that theme, but we're carrying that theme also to the exterior environment. You'll note that there's a plaza out there, and we're calling that obviously the Great Migration Sculptural Tribute and Water Feature Area. And what that is, that plaza is definitely intended to highlight and focus on the Great Migration. For example, I wish we could put the plan view up, but nevertheless, without the plan view, it's important to note that one of the key areas out there, there you go, one of the key areas out there consists of about 4 sculptures that we're anticipating to be about 12 to 15 feet in height, and they're a faceless African Americans migrating to their new home in Chicago. It's kind of depicting their struggle. And in doing so, at the base of these sculptures, there's also about 5 or 6 bubblers with LED lighting. So again, it's an interactive fountain. It's serving as an interactive fountain that children, young and old alike, will be able to physically walk or run into and run through these bubblers to give them that to provide that connectivity to our past. So I do think it's important that not only interior, inside, but we're also extending that Great Migration theme outside, because it's very important, we think, for our African Americans to know where we've gone, where we've come from.
Okay. How are you planning to raise capital and return the investment?
Well, there's twofold. First, all I'd like to comment is to talk about the financing of the project. And then as far as any kind of fundraising for the great exhibits, I'll have Ms. Reed follow. So Mike, can you just talk about the financing of the project in itself?
Sure. So Brinshore has 25 projects that they've built on the south and west sides of Chicago. And we have extensive experience with financing these sorts of developments. It will be a typical affordable housing development. where we will compete for tax credits and soft funds at the city of Chicago. So we envision a mix of conventional financing, of TIF funds, low-income housing tax credits, Illinois affordable housing tax credits, historic tax credits, and cultural center fundraising. And Ms. Reed, if you want to talk about cultural center fundraising.
Yes, one of the things that we have started to do already is to raise money for the cultural center. And so we have the Good Neighbor Women, and they have pledged to raise in 1 year, as soon as we hear about this, $5,000. As a matter of fact, one of the ladies here has already given me $2,000 toward that. You know, and the MAC men, the Men Accountable Council in Austin, you know, they have agreed to match that. So when
WHA has experience in raising over $7 million a year to support our projects. I just want to add that.
And one of the things that we did when we were building the wellness center, the first dollars always have to come from the ground. So we always get money from people in the community first, because it's their project, because they are the ones who have to keep it going. So it ties us all together. It ties us into the need for the money, and it ties them into ways of raising this money. But we have raised $2,000 from this wonderful lady behind me. Several of them say that they will help to continue to raise money. We will raise money. We will have fundraisers. We did it before through MacArthur Foundation, the Chicago Community Trust, private foundations, and we raised $4.5 million to build that wellness center down there. So that's the plan. It's not something we have not done before. We raise money.
You don't know Ms. Reed, she's an expert on raising money. That's part of her rap.
Austin is a food desert, with a lot of Austin being a food desert. How will you work with the new grocery store that's being developed on Chicago Avenue?
I mean, that's funny and ironic because we have a joint venture with Liz. Hey, Liz. So we just acquired the thrift store 3 blocks down the street to bring the first grocery store to Austin. African-American, woman-owned. We're very excited about that. That will be one of the first steps to really building on the Soul City vision by AAA BNA. We want to make Soul City happen, and this is going to be the center of the mecca of Soul City. If people don't know, Laramie Chicago Avenue. So this is what experience and knowledge pays. Laramie Chicago Avenue is the center of Soul City corridor, and this will be the marquee that really drives investment along the corridor, both west and east.
Okay. How do you plan on getting entrepreneurs to your development?
Absolutely. So as part of as the fiscal sponsor for the special service area in Ave 72, we have a group of entrepreneurs ready and willing to come. Bryn Shore has done a project at 4400 West Cottage Grove, has worked with local entrepreneurs. Mike, you just want to talk a little bit about that project?
Yeah, what we did is we partnered with Quad Cities communities to bring in local entrepreneurs to our 16,000 square foot retail spaces, all of them local. So we have pizza places, we have a beauty shop, all of them local, and all of them brought in and mentored by our partner at Quad Cities Communities. So that's the way that Bryn Shore handles this. We always partner with local community organizations. We always give them the power to hire people and to bring people in. And this is what we're going to do with Westside Health is they're going to take the reins, and they're going to bring in the workers and the entrepreneurs to our development.
This is going to be very attractive space. We want to make sure that anybody from the neighborhood first has first option to these spaces. We can easily find any corporate franchise, natural franchise, or any kind of institutional business to come into those spaces as a complement or to supplement. But because this is such a value, because the community has waited so long for an opportunity to have an attractive development to be a part of, we're going to offer that to the community first. And as a special service area fiscal agent, those companies have already come to us. We're developing spaces for them now. And so this will just add to our inventory and just expand on what we're doing. Like Liz at 40 acres, she was one of the businesses that we worked on. And we're now in the process of developing a space at 5713 West Chicago Avenue.
I'm going to combine these two questions because these are the last questions that we have time for you to respond to. And they're not exactly related, but they're short questions. Who is your GC and how will you use the educational spaces?
Well, our GC, I'm glad you asked that question because that's something that we specialize in. Part of our GC selection is a community engagement process because we want to maximize the work that, like I pointed out earlier to Jason and our local contractors that we work with. We have plumbing contractors, we have concrete contractors, we have masonry, we have electricians, we have carpenters right here in the neighborhood who never get an opportunity to work with some of these GCs that have been posted in other presentations because they're not a part of the system. This project will break down that system and give the developer, which is us and Brent Shore, to make sure that we get these folks involved, and not just any folks, but our folks. And it will warm people's heart.
Okay. And how will your educational space be used?
All right, go ahead.
Well, one of the things that we want to make sure that we fully do is educate our young people about themselves. We think that there was a breakdown in the community that causes violence and all kinds of disruptions because they don't know who they are. So we want to bring in some of the older people who have history and who can relate to younger people to teach them about who they are, about some of the history of their community and how they were able to advance and make some socioeconomic advancements in Austin. You know, we do have a school we've been running since COVID. We have principals, we have special education teachers. They are very, very concerned about how far our children are behind. So we do have a committee already to establish to help us to plan that out.
Okay, so thank you very much, Brent Shore and Westside Health Authority for your presentation. There was
live from Austin.
Pardon?
Live from Austin, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, live from Austin. Okay, so thank you, and we will move on to our next developer, and that is Jupiter Development and Sumac Architecture.
Hello, everyone. My name is Roy Donoso, and I have the pleasure of presenting the proposal for the Sumac Jupiter team for the Laramie State Bank site. Sumac is one of the largest building sustainability and energy efficiency consulting firms in the Americas. With over 89 million square feet of certified green buildings, we have offices, staff, and work in the United States, Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, and Argentina. Besides our consulting work, we also provide architecture, construction management services, and real estate development services. Jupiter is a very well-known private real estate development, investment, and real estate management firm based in Chicago that was founded in 1985. I'm sure you're familiar with their work, not only in Chicago, but in other cities throughout the United States. With a track record that expands over 35 years, Jupiter brings the experience needed for this type of development. Sumac has a wide range of experience in certified sustainable buildings. We have worked on office buildings, residential buildings, industrial buildings, retail, etc. Here you can see some of the highlights of our work in raw square feet numbers. As you can see, Jupiter has plenty of experience in real estate development, not only in Illinois and in Chicago, but all throughout the United States. You can see here some of their stats for office buildings, parking garages, rental apartments, residential condos, etc. As an example of our current ongoing work, I have the pleasure of showing you now the Geneva Apartments project. This is a joint effort of Sumac Jupiter. It is a new building, mixed use, in the suburb of Geneva, Illinois, and the project consists on 60 one-bedroom rental apartments with commercial on the ground floor. This building has the advantage of being right next to a Metro commuter train station, which makes it very accessible and easy to get to the city of Chicago. The project size is roughly 87,000 square feet, and the development cost is a little over $50 million. This project is currently ongoing and should be finished within the next 18 months or so. In regards to our organizational chart, you can see that we plan to have the Sumac Jupiter LLC as the developer of the project, which will create a special purpose entity for the project, which would be overseeing the work from the design team, which would be work done by Sumac, as well as the construction team. We currently work with a number of well-established and well-known GCs in the Chicago area, which could be potentially part of our team, as well as equity investors that currently help us on other projects. We believe that we have all the different angles that are needed for this project well covered, and that we can bring this project to a successful completion. As a minority business firm, we are very excited about the opportunity to have a Latino business involved in the execution of this project. As you can see, we're certified with all the major agencies in the city of Chicago and in the state. And of course, we plan to have a fully diverse team, not only from the design side, but also in the execution of the project. In regards to the general description of the project, what we're proposing for this site is to add a volume adjacent to the existing building and have it connected internally, so you have the connection between the old and the new, so they blend together into a single form. To go into the specifics, as you can see here, on the level 1, we would have 68 parking spaces, commercial spaces, a community gallery, and a building lobby. In the second level, we would have 18 apartment units and community space. The third level, we will have 23 apartment units. In the fourth level, we also have 23 apartment units. And at the roof level, we would have a terrace and a roof deck with green areas and social spaces. In regards to the design description or design narrative, I would really like for you to read how is it that we're describing, but in what I can tell you is that a main feature that we see in our proposal is to have natural light and natural ventilation inside the inner volume of the project. We see that we can connect, as I said before, the old with the new without having to let go of the existing identity of the building, and combining the two facades to join them into a very attractive, useful, and successful building. Regarding the environmental goals, given that the main premise of Sumac Jupiter is to be a sustainable business and having all our projects fall within the parameters of sustainability and energy efficiency, we aspire to have this building as a LEED Silver certified building. We have done this many times, and we don't see a problem with this at all. In regards to the community goal, we intend to have community spaces on the level 1 as well as in level 2. Here you can see a project rendering of our vision of what would the site be. Here you can see the site plan and what we're referring when we talk about this natural ventilation and natural light coming into the building. In our massing diagram, you can also see how this well will help us in the ventilation and the lighting of the building, as well as integrating both buildings, the old one and the new one. For the first floor, you can see the distribution that we're proposing. I will let you browse through this. In this second floor plan, you can see the community meeting hall and how generous it is, and how by being in the corner and having that void will create a very pleasant, welcoming space for any activities. In the third floor, You can see how the units surround this open space that carries through the building. The same for the fourth floor plan. To cap it off, at the roof level, we see the roof garden and how these pathways will allow you to walk around the building, the old and the new, and feel it as one space joined together. Here we can see the typical unit layout. Here we can see the different areas for each one of the floors and their different uses. Here we can see general elevations of the proposed building expansion and the original building. With this, we conclude our presentation. We hope that everything was clear and that you liked what we have to propose for this site. If you have any comments or questions or would like to receive any information, please do not hesitate to contact us. We thank you again for this opportunity and hope to be in touch with you soon. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jupiter and Sumac. I don't see any open questions for this developer. Do you have questions? Give me a moment to scroll. So the question is, are you taking this landmark and turning it into an apartment building? What are the community spaces to be used for? And so Sumac and Jupiter representatives, if you will identify yourself.
It should be Roy and Ron.
Roy Donoso is here.
Yes, Ron is here as well.
So whoever would like to respond from your group for this question, are you taking a community landmark and turning it into an apartment building? And what will the space be used for?
Part of the building will be converted to apartments in our scheme. The second part of the second, third, and fourth floors, it will wrap into the existing building. The community spaces we envisioned as ground floor gallery use for community space, and the second floor would have community meeting space.
Which Austin stakeholders have you engaged?
So far, we haven't had a chance to engage with anyone in the community, but our plan is to engage as many stakeholders, local stakeholders as possible as we move forward with the project.
Okay. Is there a community wealth building component?
Ron?
Other than the retail space on the ground floor, we don't have a direct plan at this time for anything other than that.
What are the partners you included? Who's generating revenue here to make this feasible and real?
The feasibility of the financial side is generated by the apartments and the retail leasing.
Okay, so I'm gonna combine this with that since another question that's related to that. What's the anticipated price range for the rental properties, and who will manage the properties?
I would anticipate we would use a local management company. We haven't identified a specific one, but we would use a local management company. The rents would range from $1.30. Let's see, 130. I'm trying to remember here the numbers. I think it's about $1.15 a square foot, up to $1.35 a square foot.
Okay. Which Austin stakeholders would you like to engage moving forward? Anyone in particular you want to connect with?
Roy, are you still there?
The Department of Planning and Development would like to answer.
I think that was noting that the question was asked on air.
Oh, now I can hear.
The question is, which Austin stakeholders would you like to engage with moving forward? Anyone in particular that you would like to connect with?
Really, if we could get really, we're open to anyone and everyone, and really what our intent is to present our idea, and then as we move forward, we like to have as many people from the community involved, and it's not limited just to one specific area, but really with anyone that we can.
I would ask, can we take down the presentation, please? I don't think we're referring to it at the moment. Do you have any LOIs for the tenants?
No, not yet.
Okay. Is there a cultural acknowledgement or reflection part of your project?
I think we'd look to have that when we have some better communication and connections with some of the local groups, and they could take the lead on that.
How do you believe that you're helping the Austin community with your concept? And how does the project specifically benefit the Black community?
Well, I'd say for one, unless Ron wants to add something later, that the project that we are proposing, I think that not only highlights the existing building, which by the way, I think is a beautiful building, but also will add to the context of the neighborhood in itself. I think that's one advantage as a architectural piece. I think that it would be a great addition. But beyond that, I think that by recycling, if you would, a building that otherwise might not be taken as advantage in a positive way as we're proposing, might not be as I don't want to say as well as used, but maybe it wouldn't be highlighted in the way that we're proposing it to be. So we see it as definitely as a becoming an icon for the neighborhood, if you would, a place where people can go and visit it and see how you could take an older building and make it part of a new concept. That's how we see it.
What's the cost of the project?
We're estimating about a $17 million project.
And I believe you answered about the rental, the price range of the rental properties. Did you say $1 and something per square foot?
$1.15 to $1.35.
Okay. Is there a community wealth building component?
That was asked again, and we said we'd look to partner with one of the local groups if we were to advance to the next stage.
Okay. I don't see any additional questions.
Excruciating.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me mute myself.
There are a couple of comments that are noted in the chat about your connection to Austin, and there appears to be a disconnection to the community. Are there other questions for this developer? I don't see any hands raised.
There's no hands raised. Claudia, may I speak at this time? I can't.
Sure, Alderman.
Can't raise my hand.
Alderman.
Yeah, we hear you, Alderman.
Let me just thank you all for taking the time out to present to the community. As the alderman of the ward, I can tell you we would like to know something about developers and companies that's coming in, that they have some ties to the community in order to be able to work. We are working together, united, and we don't feel the connection. So
I understand.
moving forward, I just wanted to share that with you for a project of this magnitude. And what we're looking to create certainly is equity and wealth building for the community. And I just didn't see it. I could ask a lot more questions from you in terms of equity, but we'll wait and just look at the proposal. It would have been great as you put your presentation together to have connect with someone. So I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you for the presentation. I see that we like open space. I didn't see the open space area for community gathering, maybe some parts inside. I saw 68 parking spaces. I saw 64 residents, and I didn't see that clear picture of how that's going to look. I saw the drawings, but I just needed to have seen a little bit more excitement, a little bit more enthusiasm about working with the community. It tells us that we don't want to see people just come in and take out. We want to see investments that's going to last and help to build our neighborhood.
Very well. Thank you so much for your feedback. Thank you very much
you.
for your feedback. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So thank you, Jupiter and Sumac. We will now move on to our next and final developer presentation for the evening, Rankins Group and Structure Group.
Good evening, Community Roundtable members and representatives from the City of Chicago. I'd like to welcome you to the Soul City Citizen Plaza Development Project. I'm here to present to you an overview of our project and introduce you to our team and myself. I am Donald Rankins of the Rankins Group of Illinois, Inc., along with my business partner, Britt Savage of Structure Group, LLC. We are the developers. The development team reflects the diverse background and cultural essence of the Austin community. Most of the team members are certified M/WBE firms that work and reside within the Chicago area and have extensive experience in their area of expertise. More important, the majority of our community partners reside and work within the Austin community, dedicating their time to the revitalization of the historic Austin community. Some of their extensive experience includes a variety of Chicago landmark projects in recent years, as shown here. Our focus will leverage not only this experience, but also the passion for not building a structure, but building the community within this space. The overall vision for the project is that it begins and remains to be very focused on the community building. Soul City Citizen Plaza project encompasses the vision and request of the people and for the people of the Austin community. Our concept will focus on the stabilization and transformation of the Austin community from an economic perspective. This project will create more jobs and entrepreneurs that will exponentially stimulate economic growth in the Austin community and other Westside communities such as North Lawndale and Garfield Park. Restoration of the Laramie Bank Building is the cornerstone and will be a center of economic activities and stimulation. Construction includes adding a second level with usable space of 14,000 square feet, intended to host an entrepreneurial incubator space and include business development resources that will allow participants to flourish and increase their odds of success and create generational wealth in the community. The space will also include an arts center, indoor-outdoor cafe with retail space available to encourage and promote the arts of the community. This includes spoken word and music. Apartments will provide up to 56 units of affordable housing, targeting but not limited to entrepreneurs. Amenities will include a community meeting room, a fitness center, and laundry facility. A retail grocery store as well as a pharmacy will be featured, as well as making Soul City Citizen Plaza a true destination for residents in the Austin and North Lawndale area. We will create 300 jobs, including 180 construction jobs, 120 full-time jobs in retail, building, and property management. Our proposal will encourage the retail banker that will be located within the Laramie Bank building to offer financial literacy to the residents and entrepreneurs that are located in the Austin community as part of a community benefit agreement. The retail bank will collaborate with the West Chicago Branch Library and the Austin Community Family Center to offer on-site and virtual literacy activities. Soul City Citizen Plaza proposal embodied the desire of the Austin community, creating an economic fusion with financial literacy programs, entrepreneurial, workforce development that will have a generational impact within the Austin community, the second largest community in the city of Chicago. Furthermore, the Soul City Citizen Plaza project provides a solution to reducing the sociological issues plaguing the community, incorporating the Front Porch Arts Center into the historic Laramie Bank building will encourage the creative artistic expression of the young and the seasoned. Specifically, 5 key commercial anchors, along with a partnership with Twisted Kaleidoscope, a workforce development program, will ensure a path for community youth to create their own future and creativity, a badly needed service that taps the unique spirit of our young people in a positive direction. The Soul City Citizen Plaza development team is comprised of a team that has extensive experience working with public and private projects. Our combined experience working with projects in comparison to the proposed Soul City Citizen Plaza project will absolutely ensure a successful outcome. A realistic timeline will deliver results to the community by approximately January 2023. The innovative concept is created as a microcosm with a collection of resources resulting in a walkable community featuring 2 tier plazas for outdoor dining, modular mural installation, as well as performing art venue, ensuring stability. Solar panels will be incorporated to ensure the development benefits the environment, health, and wellness of the Austin community. Thank you for your time and your thoughtful consideration.
Thank you. Are there questions that you have for Rankins and Structure groups?
I have one.
Sure. State your name, please.
Ed Coleman, Westside Forward.
Okay.
You mentioned a specific workforce development, I'll call it an initiative aimed at youth. And can you say a little bit more about what that really is?
Someone from the Rankins and Structure group.
This is Lee with Boa Construction. I'd like to address that if it's okay with Brett.
I see Britt is on. I don't see his. But Lee, go ahead and yeah. Well.
Okay, thank you. So regarding our workforce, from the construction side, we're looking at a temporary construction workforce of about 150 temporary jobs. Basically, we've been able to identify that based upon the various trades that we're looking at relative to this project. Our goal is, as we start to start this process, we have a history of inclusion in terms of developing a workforce strategy. We will establish various outreach events. In addition to that, we will reinforce the fact through specifications, working with the architect, Ross Barney, relative to putting the front end specs to make sure that various trade contractors are at least trying to meet minimum local hiring goals on the project. So that's our strategy relative to construction and temporary workforce inclusion.
Who are you looking to partner with for a pharmacy? Mr. Savage, if you're speaking, if you're part of this group, we cannot hear you.
Hi, this is Carol Barney. I am part of this group, but I'm the architect. I'm not the leader. It seems like our leaders are not on the call. And if I answered this isn't my area of expertise, and I'm really disappointed because this group has very specific plans and sponsors for both the workforce development and the retail partners. And I don't see Britt at all on the call.
Britt is on the call. He's talking, but I don't think his speaker's on.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah, I have Britt. Also, Donald's on. I don't see Donald on the phone, so I don't know if he's the call-in number or if.
Oh wow, that's really a shame because they have absolutely solid planning for both those issues.
So just a moment, everyone, please, just a moment. So because I don't know who you all are, so we do ask that you identify yourself with the group. And if this question, let me move on to the next question. And if we need to come back to this one, we will do that as to who can respond from the developer. How will the community be informed of the benefits that are going to be offered at the facility, such as the financial literacy resources?
Mr. Rankins is on now.
Hi, Donald, I think you have to unmute. There's a question for you.
All righty.
How will the community be informed of benefits that will be offered at the facility, such as financial literacy resources?
Can you repeat the question? I'm trying to connect with you here.
Okay. How will the community be informed of the benefits that are going to be offered, such as financial literacy resources?
One of our goals is with the bank that will be located inside of the Laramie Bank building, and for them to work with the Chicago West Library. And we also have a workforce development consultant, and they will coordinate with the people in the community. So that's our goal.
Okay. I'm going to go back to an earlier question, which is, who are you looking to partner with for the pharmacy?
Right now, we haven't identified a pharmacist yet, but we're working on it.
Okay. Do you currently have a retail banker in mind? And are you able to talk more about what type of bank you'll be targeting for the space? For example, credit union, etc.
See my partner there trying his speaker is off. His microphone is off. He can't connect there. We've talked to a number of different banks, and right now we're talking with PNC.
Okay. Will the temporary workers be union or non-union?
We're looking to offer opportunities to both union and non-union.
Okay. And I think Mr. Savage is a part of your team. Mr. Savage, if you want to respond in the chat, since your audio isn't working, that would be helpful also to the roundtable. Will your pharmacy be able to accept Aetna Medicaid? Is that on your radar?
We're hoping that they would be open to accepting as many insurance providers as possible. That way we can make sure that as many people as possible could be covered by the insurance.
Other questions?
And can I just introduce, we have Ms. Janet Jackson online. She's our workforce development consultant, as well as you saw my partner, Britt Savage.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Let me just say a few words. I came in, I guess, a little late about workforce development, particularly as the question was asked as related to union and non-union. I would expect that a project of this scope could employ both. And I think that is one of multiple reasons why I'm a part of this team. With my years in the workforce development space, as well as the construction space, I understand it's a delicate dance that has to go on to make that happen, but it can in fact happen. I also want to be sure to let you guys know that part of our strategy is to leverage and connect with a lot of the workforce development organizations and resources that already exist and are doing great work in and around the city. I know and have worked with many of them. So oftentimes it's about pulling together all the resources into a central spoke to get the most benefit for all of the local residents.
Okay. Is there a plan for the roof, such as green space, and what's your plan for parking for the structure?
Yes, I can answer that. Sorry.
Rick, you want me to answer it? I don't have an echo.
Okay.
Okay, can I share the screen? I can show you exactly where the parking is.
We're not passing the screen, but I can pull up
okay,
what you sent to us.
we have
And there's a different image, let me know. But
okay, we've provided limited parking. Are those the only ones you have?
yeah, I'll pull up the actual PDF in a second.
Okay, we have decided, and I have to say, I want to start out by telling you that we wouldn't recommend doing a project like this where we haven't had a conversation with the community, because I am a Chicagoan, I'm a native Chicagoan, but this isn't my block, and there are intricacies that only the people who live here really understand. So we're really looking forward to an open conversation and open engagement with the members of the community. That being said, after looking at the site and looking at the retail that's available in Austin, we think that our best bet would be to provide limited parking on the site. In a lot of ways, we were tempted to turn this into all green space without parking, but we think that parking will be important to for some of the residents of this building, especially ones with handicaps. And we also think that it will be valuable. You keep going, you'll find, I think, a first floor plan. Here we go. It also will be valuable for the retailers who have space in this building. And so you can see that we've provided really, really limited parking. And most of it is under our building. So if the extra advantage of this parking is it is covered for our building tenants that happen to secure a space.
Who are you? Are you paused or are you finished?
Well,
about the parking.
I'm finished talking about the parking. Was there two parts to that question?
Okay,
I can't remember if there were two parts.
Okay. What's the plan for the roof, such as the green space?
Oh, okay. Right now, we've located our green space on, we have two types of green space. If you keep on flipping through keep going, I'll find it eventually. We have two types of green space. Actually, could you go back? Is that Ethan who's doing this? Oh, that's a good one. We have two types of green space. What you're looking at is a public plaza, and you're looking back into the grocery store. And on the other side, right now, Britt and Donald are talking to a cafe operator, and they would occupy the space in the bank building on the first floor. So this is an open plaza for public. We also sort of thought that this would be a great place for markets or for music, but we did think that the residents needed a green space of their own. So on the second floor, you can see there's a second floor terrace, sort of in the L of the building, and that's a private terrace that is reserved for the use of residents only. There are other amenities. Donald mentioned some of them. We have a community meeting room. We have a laundry. We have a fitness center, and the terrace is also one of them. One of the things that we'd like to do, if we could, is you can see we've created sort of a stadium stair that looks down from the private terrace to the public terrace. So that would be a great space for the residents of the building to be able just to watch people.
And let me add, I'm sorry, Carol, if you were finished. We will have solar panels incorporated into the project. This is Britt Savage.
Okay, and then because we located all our green space on this level, we may have a green roof, but it's not going to be habitable.
Okay. Who are your tenants, and do you have LOIs?
Yes, so we have LOIs from Live Cafe. They will go into on the first level of the retail bank building. And then we also have an LOI from the Front Porch Arts Center. And that's who we have so far. And we also have a commitment from the tenant that's gonna facilitate the entrepreneurial center on the second level.
I have a question.
Sure.
What does facilitate the entrepreneurship center really mean? Are they going to be managing the incubation space and preparing entrepreneurs for success, or what does that mean?
Well, essentially with the Entrepreneur Center, so our goal for the second floor was to actually also incorporate business affairs and consumer protection, because our goal is to facilitate a synergy for entrepreneurs. That's why we're dedicating the housing in part, but not limited to, entrepreneurs that are based there in Austin, so that we can help them facilitate. The Entrepreneurial Center will hopefully be able to do the outreach with organizations like with Westside Forward, with AAA BNA, with Malcolm Crawford, and the Austin Chamber of Commerce to help work in conjunction with organizations such as those to appeal to those entrepreneurs to get supportive services by having the Entrepreneur Center based there. We're offering co-working facilities as well as business incubator space. And so ultimately the goal is to, if we can get BACP to come on that second level with the Entrepreneurial Center, we'll be able to create a synergy where individuals who want to apply for their tax ID numbers and their registration with the Secretary of State to establish their LLCs or S corporations, they could facilitate that on the second floor, open up a business checking account with our retail banker on the first level, and then go to the second floor and get their city license with BACP.
Are there plans to keep the area safe? Who are you working with on that? It's a note that there's a lot of foot traffic and there seems to be an open area outdoors around the cafe.
Sure. So we have a letter of LOIs from All Point Security, which is an African-American MWBE firm. So they will facilitate security. And then we're also working with Demetrius Williams with Salem Security, who will provide basically the security equipment in terms of cameras, et cetera. So those are our two forms of security in terms of physical as well as digital.
Okay. I think this question is related to the parking. 33 spaces. Is this question related to parking? Who asked this?
Yes, it's 33 parking spaces.
Okay. What is the pricing going to be for the residents?
For the housing, is that specific to housing?
I believe so.
Okay. Okay, so basically we have 56 units. The housing is broken down into 11 studios, 12 2-bedrooms, and 33 1-bedrooms. What we've done is we want to try to dedicate all of the units towards affordable with no market rate because we looked at the quality of life plan that was conducted, and due to the fact that we looked at that high percentage of individuals who are earning less than 13,000, well, I'm sorry, earning less than 25,000, we believe that it would be more conducive to provide affordable housing. So therefore, our rental rates are going anywhere from $550 to about 1,000.
Okay. Is the fitness center and media center going to be open to the public or just the residents?
Just the residents.
Okay. Are there other questions? I don't see any hands raised. You have other questions for the Rankins and Structure groups? There being none, thank you for your presentation. I'm sorry, there is one other question as to whether or not family units, will there be any family units, 3 bedrooms?
Yeah, well, no, we just structured it for now with 12 2-bedrooms.
Okay.
So that's where we at right now.
Okay. Okay, so again, thank you for your presentation. And for the roundtable, thank you again for your second night and your attentiveness. A few themes that came up this evening certainly is the continued theme around community engagement, community involvement. You had several questions around how these projects are going to be funded and what the return on investment would be, and then questions in general as to how the space is going to be used. Whether or not there are LOIs that are available as well. And then the questions around the housing costs and what type of housing there would be. So those are some of the common themes that have surfaced tonight throughout some of the groups, not all of them, but most of them. And I do see a hand from Representative Lilly.
Thank you, and thank you for your facilitating in this presentation or these presentation. The questions are very valid questions. Will we have access to the questions and the answers to the questions beyond this platform?
So I'm going to turn it over to Ethan with DPD that will define next steps for you and where this information will be housed. Ethan?
Yeah, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'll run over next steps. Briefly to your question, this meeting will be recorded and will be posted on YouTube. If you haven't seen, the previous night's meeting is already on YouTube. Questions from the meeting are all being kind of consolidated. Our goal is then to report back, essentially, this is what we heard. So we haven't had the format yet. Will we literally list, every single question? No, I think we'll kind of roll up general, kind of larger themes, specific points or questions that got a lot of feedback or response to them. But our intention is to share back out in 2 or 3 weeks' time everything we believe we heard in this process thus far.
I think that's great. I also think to archive the questions is important as well. It just really the thought process and the involvement really, I think, prevailed here. So thank you.
Yeah, makes sense. I'll point out, getting to our next steps, as I believe people should have seen earlier today, the online survey got released for last night's presentations. Please fill those out. Those aren't in place of, this is in addition to every comment we've heard thus far. But we will certainly use that online survey form. A form for tonight and with links back to yesterday will be sent out as soon as possible, probably first thing tomorrow morning for tonight's presentation. A reminder of how this will all be processed. So DPD's goal is to synthesize today's comments and online survey responses, incorporate that into a kind of review document. We'll then present that or send that back out to everyone based on community feedback, our internal review process, and financial feasibility. Present based on what we've heard, what we believe is kind of the tier of respondents. Again, that's kind of saying, do we think there's a clear number one? Do we think there's a top 3 that are fairly grouped together? That's what that document will say back to you, and you can tell us if that's not what you think was told. So again, that will be reviewed at February's Austin Roundtable on February 19th. Once final materials have been reviewed, a winning team will be selected. However, ongoing engagement and negotiation will certainly continue after February. So again, that's the next steps. I have no other comments. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you,
I would like to make
Ms.
a comment.
Baker. Oh, and Alderman Mitz, certainly.
Yes, Ethan, I just want to thank everyone too, Commissioner Cox, the DPD team, for all the work that they've been doing surrounding making this transparent for the community, engaging the community. I thank all of the developers and they presented. I think it was very enlightening for everyone to see. Great job. Claudia, you did an excellent job in holding everything together and getting the questions, keeping us in order. Our community members and organizations and partners have just been exceptional. We have a great community. Believe it or not, we're working together to make everything happen. It's been a long time coming, and we want to make sure that it comes out to be what we've been expecting, what we're looking for, something we can be proud of. This is our sign of hope. And I thank all of you for your involvement. Thank you, State Rep Lilly, for joining in with us tonight. We appreciate having you and all of our stakeholders in the community working together on creating wealth and creating Soul City Quarter and just making it a better place and environment for all of us to be able to live in. Thank you.
Thanks, Alderman. And if I could just echo the Alderman's sentiments on behalf of the department, Ms. Baker, if there's one thing we can all agree on is on the tremendous job that you did tonight. So thank you for facilitating, and thanks again, everyone, for joining us tonight. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your time and consideration.